Okay? Sorry guys, na-interrupt tayo kanina, lost connection. So let us continue our topic in ang tawag dito, sa bombing incident. Okay. This data help authorities, yung itong si bomb data center, Philippine Bomb Data Center, dyan pinadala lahat ng data uh, uh, regarding bomb explosion or any bombing incident. Kasi in the future, that will serve as reference for us to, ang tawag nito, to know, okay, the modus operandi, kung ano yung serial bomb, kung may serial bomber ba. Kasi kung serial bomber, ibig sabihin, isa lang na grupo yan gumagawa ng bomba, either terrorists or syndicates. And of course, matutulungan yung mga authorities para malaman kung sino yung gumawa ng bomba, para malaman kung ano yung approach na kailangan gawin. Okay? Yan po yung role ng Philippine Bomb Data Center. The concerned investigating police unit, okay, must submit the following reports to the Philippine Bomb Data Center for analysis and incorporation to the National Database of Explosives-Related Incidents. And, ito yun. Explosive-Related Incident Report Form, yan po kailangan submit natin. Investigation report of the concerned PNP unit. Post-blast investigation report or technical evaluation report of responding PNP bomb squad unit or EOD team of the AFP, NBI, PCG. Okay, digital and so forth and so on. Pakibasa na lang po yung ano yung mga kailangan isubmit sa data bomb center. Nandito naman po. Okay, hindi na kailangan i-discuss pa yan. So let us proceed to arson guys. Mas gusto ko itong discuss yung arson. Arson. Pag sinunog ko yung bahay nyo, para makakuha ko yung insurance. Example, yung bahay ni Wana, girlfriend ni Wana, tapos si Wana, may insurance yung bahay. Pag nasunog yun, magkakaroon ng pera si Wana. Okay? Yung insurance sa kapangalan kay Wana. Girlfriend ko siya. Siya ay anak ng nanay niya or nanay niya may nakapangalan bahay, pero insurance, nakapangalan Wana. So, sabi ni Wana, uy, sunugin mo yung bahay. Maghahati tayo sa insurance or sa ating dalawa yung insurance. 50 million ang worth ng bahay. Pero yung insurance mo, magiging 70 million. So, sinunog ko. Okay, pero nahuli ako. So, ano yung kaso ko? Accomplice Suhana. Principal din. So, yung nag-induce sa akin. Diba? Principal by inducement. Ngayon, yun ang arson. Pero kung accidentally nasunog ko yung bahay dahil ako yung hasindero nila, ay ako yung cook nila, naiwan ko, nagluluto ako, I don't have any intention na sunog yung bahay. Pwede ba akong kaso ng arson? No. So let us define arson. Arson is the crime intentionally and maliciously setting fire to structures or wildland areas. Okay? Hindi lang pala sa bahay or structures, pati rin pala sa wildland areas. Okay. It may be distinguished from other causes such as spontaneous combustion and natural welds. Arson usually describes deliberately set to the property of another or to one's own property as to collect insurance compensation. Sabi ko kanina. What are the laws governing arson? Wait, check lang natin kung ibang slides pa. PD 1613, which repealed Act 3 to 320B of the RPC. Okay, Article 3. That's Article 300. Saan ba yung arson? Sorry, medyo. Oh, 320 pala. 2020. RPC. NRA 7659 as regard to the imposition of death penalty. Ito yung death penalty sa mga nagkaka ng arson. Okay? What are the elements of the crime of arson? So number one, any person burning a structure. Edifice, pag sinabi natin edifice, it is a place for us to worship, to do our religious activities. Okay? Or building or dwelling. Bahay mo yan, or building, pinagtatrabahuan. Okay? When you burn that intentionally, the burning is intentional and with intent to damage to the property. Okay, that's one of it. Other analogous such acts. So kung sinunog ko lang, dahil may sinsito ako, may baliw ako, mayroon akong sakit sa ulo, sinunog ko lang pero wala akong intention. Kasi nga baliw ako. Pwede ba akong gawin ng arson? No. But if proven that I was in my sanity or lucid state, and then internal yun, kahit crazy ka, pwede kang kaso ng arson. Okay? What are the evidences needed to file the crime of arson? Testimonial evidence, affidavit of complainant and witnesses. As I've said, personal knowledge is very important. Documentary evidence, kung sabihin mo na arson, napicturean mo yung mga gasolina, yung mga plants, yung trailers, yung mga ginagamit na pangsunog, okay? Object, evidence, and other. Arson investigation. Arson investigation is being conducted by the PNP. No. The BFP, the Bureau of Fire Protection, because they are the ones trained, who is trained to conduct arson investigation. Shall have the power to investigate all cases of fire and, if necessary, file the proper complaint with the city or provincial prosecutor who has jurisdiction over the case. The task and responsibility of the fire arson investigators are not only limited to conducting exhaustive investigations and filing complaints with prosecutor's office, but also includes the appearance and giving of testimonies before the court of law during legal proceedings. Remember, if yung BFP or yung firefighter, if he gave his statement or testimony to the court, okay, that his statement or his testimony is considered as an expert witness opinion. Okay, it will be considered as an expert opinion. Expert rule on witness, opinion rule pala. Pag yung ordinary citizen, it will be considered as a hearsay evidence. Pero pag nanggaling siya sa experts like mga police officers, chemists, firefighters, it will be considered as an expert opinion. Okay? Gets? It is provided in the rule that if the prosecution who has the burden of proof and quantum of evidence is proof beyond reasonable doubt, once proven, the maximum highest penalty of the commission of arson is life imprisonment under the penalty for commission under the present law. Since the law on death penalty is abolished or suspended, okay? Arson is a heinous crime that requires skillful scientific and systematic investigation procedures. Thus, the respective chiefs of the investigation and intelligence offices of the BFP are enjoined to closely supervise the conduct of investigation in order to attain effective and plausible results. So, kailangan dyan lagi yung BFP during investigation of arson because without them, hindi ma-explain kung saan nanggaling yung apoy, ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng charring, alligatoring, hindi alis yan. Although alam niya, pero basic lang. Pero yung mga firefighters, alam nila saan yung sentro ng apoy, saan nanggaling yung apoy, saan nag-originate yung apoy, ano yung alligatoring, ano yung charring, ano yung purpose ng pag-study natin sa alligatoring o charring. So, yun yung mga bagay na pwedeng i-contribute ng protection. So, let us proceed to the next slide. Specific investigative procedures. Okay, arson investigation, laws and jurisprudence. The criminal offense of arson is punishable under Articles 320 to 326B of the Revised Penal Code, as amended by Presidential Decree 1613, 1744, and Section 10 of Republic Act 7659 of the Heinous Crime Law, or yung death penalty. As mandated by the provisions of Section 50, Rule 8, implementing rules regulation of RA 6975, also known as the DILG Act of 1990, which created the PNP, BFP, and BGMP. It says there that the Bureau of Fire Protection shall have the power to investigate all causes of fire and, if necessary, file the proper complaint with the city or provincial prosecutor who has jurisdiction over the case. So, again, ulitin natin, pag may mga cases ng arson, always file the proper complaint to the office of the city or provincial prosecutor so that the BFP will conduct an arson investigation. Elements of arson. Actual burning took place. Actual burning is done with malicious intent. Okay? The actual burning is done by persons legally and criminally liable. Actual burning took place. Ganito. Meron tayong levels of arson, but for board examination purposes, meron tayong tinatawag na frustrated arson. Pero sa totoo lang, ang stages lamang ng arson is attempted and consummated arson only. Okay? Be mindful that arson has only 2 stages, attempted and consummated only. Walang frustrated arson. But for the purpose of board examination, meron yung nakalagay doon sila ng frustrated arson. Okay? Let us proceed to the attempted arson. A gets a rag and soaks it. Okay, ibahin na pangalan. Pedro gets a rag and soaks it into kerosene with intent to burn the house of 1. Okay? His enemy. Pedro put the rag in the combustible portion of one's house, and when in the act of striking his match in order to burn the rag soaked with kerosene, Pedro was arrested by a policeman who happens to cry. Okay? Dumadaan yung police on the time na sisindihan na yung posporo para sindihan na yung basahan na sinausaw niya sa gasolina, sa kerosene. Nakita siya ng police, nahuli siya. So, that constitutes attempted arson. Okay? A begins the commission of the felony. Ito. Pedro begins the commission of the felony by overt acts, but does not fulfill all the acts of execution necessary to produce the felony by reason of timely arrival of the policeman. So, yun yung bakit tinawag siya attempted arson. Let's proceed to frustrated arson. Pedro, with intent to burn, puts the rag soaked with kerosene in the combustible part of one's house. Pedro lights the rag, and while it's burning, Pedro ran away. Before the fire from the rag consumes any part of the house, one discovers it and extinguishes the fire. So that's a frustrated arson. Hindi nangyari kasi may nag-intervene. Okay? Out of control. Pero walang frustrated arson. It's only consummated and attempted. Okay? And consummated arson. Pedro, with intent to burn, lights a rag soaked with kerosene in the combustible parts of one's house. But before the fire was extinguished by B, it has already burned a small portion of the house. So, remember, sa crime of arson, hindi kailangan na sunog yung buong bahay. Yung konti lamang, the slightest discoloration on the part of the structure of facility of that house or of that wildland, it constitutes arson. Okay? Pedro had already performed all the acts of execution necessary to produce the felony. The consummation of the crime does not depend upon the extent of damage caused. Okay? Yun sinabi ko, hindi yun nakadepende kung gaano nakadamage, kung gaano nasunog yung bahay. Kundi, any charring on the wood or any structure whereby the fiber of the wood is destroyed, it's already sufficient. Konting sunog lamang or nagkaroon lamang ng charring, yung parang pupunot-punot or yung parang may wrinkles dun sa wood na nasunog, it's already sufficient. It's already sufficient para tawagin natin siyang arson. Okay? It is not necessary that the wood or structure should be ablaze. Okay? Setting fire to the contents inside the building can constitute consummated crime of arson, whether if no part of the building was burned. Okay? Always remember that. Hindi kailangan na sunog. The slightest discoloration of the building constitutes already arson. Konting sunog lamang dun sa building, arson na yun. Okay? Kasi ang pinapunish dyan, hindi yung damage, hindi yung damage, kundi yung intent mo to destroy the house. It's your intention to burn the building totally. Yun yung intention mo. So, hindi man lang sunog lahat-lahat yun. Though, intention mo, sunugin talaga lahat, yun ang napapunish doon. So, life imprisonment or reclusion perpetua. Pag may namatay, life imprisonment or death. Okay? Authority in the conduct of fire or arson investigation. The investigation of fire incidents and arson cases shall be turned over to the Bureau of Fire Protection. Okay, so 50 of RA 6975 or the DILG Act of 1990. But remember, RA 6975 was already amended by RA 9263. Okay? Supplemental guidelines on arson law. It is a well-settled principle of criminal law that a conviction for a crime cannot be unless the corpus delicti is established. To establish corpus delicti in arson, the proof of two elements required: the burning of the house or other, that's corpus delicti, the criminal group that caused it. So, yun yung supplemental guidelines sa arson law. Yung ibig sabihin ng corpus delicti, the body of the crime. Okay, arson is established by proving the corpus delicti or the body of the crime, usually in the form of circumstantial evidence, such as criminal agency, meaning crimming the substance used like gasoline, combustible material. Okay, kung may nakita kayo dun sa surroundings na may gasolina, electric wires or matches or lighters, yun. If the crime of arson is employed by the offenders as means to kill the offender party, the crime committed is murder. Okay? Kung gusto mong patayin yung isang tao by means of burning him, murder, not arson. The burning of the property as means to kill the victim is what is contemplated by the word fire under Article 248 of the Revised Penal Code, which qualifies the crime to murder. Okay? Yung means mo is iset mo yung fire ng yung bahay nila para mamatay yung tao, that's murder. If you are focusing on the property, then that's arson. When the burning of the property is done by the offender only to cause damage, but the arson resulted in the death of the person, the crime committed is still arson because the death of the victim is mere consequence and not intention of the offender. Okay? There is no special complex crime of arson with homicide. Walang ganon. What matters is revolving cases involving arson is criminal intent of the offender. So, ang intention mo lamang doon is to set fire on the house. Okay? Your intention to kill someone is not there. Okay? So, if your intention is to kill someone, then therefore, it is considered murder. When the burning of one's property results from reckless imprudence and it leads to serious physical injuries and or damage to properties of another, the penalty to be imposed shall not be for the crime of arson under PD 1613, but rather the penalty shall be based on Article 365 of the RPC as a felony committed by means of culpa or negligence or imprudence. So, example, reckless imprudence resulted to damage to property or reckless imprudence resulted to serious physical injury. Yan po yun. Okay? Kung mayroon kayong reckless imprudence, hindi siya arson. Okay? Basic methods of fire investigation: preservation of the fire scene, of course. Kailangan yung mag-cordon. Consider the fire scene itself as evidence. Yun na mismo. Avoid contamination, loss, or unnecessary movement of physical evidence with the fire scene. Parang yung ginagawa din sa crime scene search. Secure the fire scene on authorized intrusion. From unauthorized intrusion. Kailangan mag-set kayo ng perimeter security para sa ganun wala makapasok na unauthorized person. Limit the access of fire scene to those persons who only need to be there. Okay? Kung sino lang yung mga tao na dapat nandoon yung mag-investigate, sila yung nandun lang. Even the family members are not allowed kung investigation ang nangyayari. Examination of the fire scene. Examination should be thoroughly analyze the patterns, trace fire spread. Uh, Paano yung pag-trace natin ng spread fire? So, kung ano yung direction ng pagkuha ng apoy, yun yung direction, yun yung way kung paano siya na-spread. Ano? And analyze fire pattern. Kung nanggaling ba siya sa taas o sa baba, from left to right, ganun. Identify areas and point of origin. Ang tip ko lang kung paano natin ma-determine kung saan yung point of origin or yung area na nanggalingan ng apoy is meron tayong tinatawag na alligatoring pattern or charring pattern. Kung nakita niyo na yung parang skin ng crocodile, alligatoring, yun yung nag-umpisahan ng apoy, okay? Doon nag-start. O kaya yung parang pinaka uh, parang pinaka-deep, yung parang pinaka-napenet na part ng wood o kaya ng penny wall or area of the house na nag-alligatoring, yun yung origin ng fire. Okay? Identify the fuel involved. Is it gasoline, diesel, or kerosene? Or any combustible or flammable liquid. Establish the corpus delicti or the body of the crime by eliminating all natural or accidental causes. So, you should eliminate all natural. Ano ba yung mga natural? Lightning. Accidental causes, electrical. Okay? Electrical o kaya naman yung mga kandila. Yun po yung mga accidental causes. Ito. Insurance firm, guys. The insurance agent or broker will provide the name of company's policy number. So, bakit ba kailangan na malaman natin kung may insurance yung isang building or bahay? Kasi yun yung pinupunto ng arsonist kung bakit siya nagsunog ng bahay or ng building. Kasi may insurance yun. Either bankrupt siya, kaya kailangan niya na sunugin yung bahay na yun or building na yun para makakuha ng mas malaking pera from the insurance. Okay? Neighborhood inquiry, kailangan malaman natin sa mga neighbors natin kung may kagalit ba yung bahay na nasunog o kaya mayroon bang kaso yun ng squatting o kaya naman yung titulo niya, di ba? Public records, questioning principal suspect. Eto nga, sabi ko kanina, in questioning the principal suspects, kailangan ask the suspect, inform the suspect of his Miranda rights. He has the right to remain silent, to have a competent attorney of his own choice. If he cannot avail, the government will produce one or provide one. And of course, pwede ba siya magbigay ng confession or hindi? Okay? Always merong attorney dapat na mag-assist sa kanya. Ngayon, pag maraming suspect yan, kailangan i-separate natin sila para may integrity yung statement na ibibigay nila. Hindi ma-influensyahan ng ibang principal suspect. Okay? Motive. Kailangan malaman natin kung ano yung motive. Fraud, arson to profit ba? Spite or revenge? To cover up another violation of law. For example, siguro nakapatay ka doon. And afterwards, sinira mo yung bahay para makonceal mo yung ebidensya. Juvenile fire settlers or vandalism ba? O kaya pyromania. When we say pyromania, he is a person that has compulsive behavior or meron siyang psychological compulsion to ignite fire or ignite things into fire. Okay? Mass civil disturbance or riot o kaya naman terrorism. Yun ang motive nila kung bakit sila nag-arson. So, that's all for our specialized crime investigation. Sana meron tayong naintindihan at naunawaan. So, kung may katanungan kayo, just feel free. Meron tayong messenger. Thank you guys and God bless.